Throughout the centuries, Anatolia and later Türkiye have been a crossroads of languages, cultures, and people. Today, there are dozens of ethnic groups living in Türkiye and dozens of languages spoken by these groups. Türkiye's minorities such as the Kurds, Laz, Circassians, Greeks, Armenians, Albanians, Jews, and others are well known to many. However, in this video, I will talk about 3 ethnic groups in Türkiye that even most of my fellow Turks probably haven't heard of. There are many people of African descent living in Türkiye. Unfortunately, obtaining a consistent population count of Africans in the country is challenging, as estimates from various sources range between 100,000 to 1.5 million. However, this video will not discuss Africans in Türkiye but the Afro-Turks, a distinct group. While African immigrants, students, and asylum seekers have arrived in Türkiye over the last few decades, the Afro-Turks have inhabited Anatolia for centuries. But why does Türkiye have an African minority? What's the story behind it? The ancestors of the Afro-Turks are the Africans who came to Western Anatolia from East Africa starting in the 1800s during the Ottoman era. Although a small population of them moved of their own volition to build new lives for themselves in the Ottoman lands, a large portion of them were brought to the empire as slaves. Many of these Africans who were from Sudan, Kenya, Ethiopia, Libya, Eritrea, and other regions worked on farms, in households, in the Ottoman Sultan's palace, and in the Ottoman army in different positions. Throughout the years, some Africans in the empire rose to high ranks in the Ottoman state and Ottoman army. There were Afro-Turks who were eunuchs of the Ottoman imperial harem, state officials, war heroes, national wrestlers, and more. Following World War I between 1914 and 1918 and the foundation of Türkiye in 1923, some of the Afro-Turks left Anatolia and settled in different countries. However, a considerable number of them stayed and integrated into Turkish society. Arguably, one of the most famous Afro-Turks is Ahmet Ali Çelik'ten, known to be the first black war pilot in history. Born in 1883 to an Afro-Turk family of Nigerian descent, he first served in the Ottoman Air Force. During World War I, he fought in the Ottoman army. In the Turkish War of Independence, he supported the Turkish nationalist movement as a war pilot. After the Republic of Türkiye was founded in 1923, he worked in the Turkish aviation industry for many years. For decades, Afro-Turks have contributed to Turkish society in different roles such as sculptors, actors, actresses, ballerinas, TV personalities, athletes, football players, journalists, and authors. Additionally, there have been many Turkish singers of African descent who perform different genres. Today, estimates for the Afro-Turk population vary. Some sources say that there are between 5,000 to 10,000 Afro-Turks in Türkiye, while others claim the population is around 100,000. Although it is not easy to determine an exact number, it seems that 20,000 is more commonly accepted as an estimate for the Afro-Turk population in Türkiye. Today, Afro-Turks are mostly Muslims and speak Turkish. They primarily live in small towns and villages in western Türkiye. They are an inseparable part of Turkish society and have greatly contributed to Türkiye over the years. I will say something bold now. I'm almost certain that pretty much no one in Türkiye has heard of the ethnic group we're about to cover. The Posha people, also known as Lone people, are one of the most interesting ethnic groups in Türkiye. Before we dive deeper, we need to understand that there is a lot of mixed and contrasting information about the Poshas. I figured that it will be impossible to talk about the Poshas without triggering anyone, since the 3 main schools of thought between their origin are also the basis for rival nationalistic views. The first view claims that the Posha people are Gypsy Armenians or Romani Armenians. According to this perspective, the Poshas were a group of Romani people who settled in eastern Anatolia around the 10th century AD during the Byzantine era. The lands that the Poshas settled were predominantly inhabited by the Armenian people back then. Well into the 19th century, the Posha people lived alongside the Armenians and were heavily influenced by them. They intermarried and were mostly assimilated into the Armenian way of life. They converted to Christianity and joined the Armenian Apostolic Church. Due to their interaction with the Armenians, the Romani language that the Posha people spoke was heavily influenced by Armenian, and throughout the centuries, a new hybrid language named Lomavran was born, which is a mix of Romani and Armenian with some influence from Turkish and Persian. The second view claims that the Romani people who moved to eastern Anatolia around the 10th century did interact with the Armenians, but other than adopting some words and sayings from the Armenian language, they maintained their own cultural identity and lived independently throughout the Byzantine, Seljuk, and Ottoman eras. A small percentage of the Poshas accepted Christianity, but around the 16th century, Islam became more popular in the Posha community. The third view combines elements of the first and second views. It claims that one group of Poshas mixed with the Armenians and assimilated into the Armenian community, while the rest remained culturally independent but were influenced linguistically. During the collapse of the Ottoman Empire and following the foundation of the Republic of Türkiye, the Poshas spread to various parts of Türkiye. However, today, despite their geographically dispersed population, the Posha people mostly live in central and eastern Türkiye. The Poshas are almost exclusively Muslims. Unfortunately, we don't have any solid data about the population of the Posha people in Türkiye. Today, a very small part of the Posha community, mostly elders, speak the Lomavran language. A large percentage of the Poshas speaks Turkish. Due to the presence of the Turkish language in the Posha community, the Lomavran language also has many Turkish loanwords. Before we move on to the next ethnic group, I would also like to mention that the Posha people in Türkiye have different feelings about their origins today. I went through various sources, theses, and field interviews with Posha people and found very interesting perspectives. It will be safe to say that the Poshas in Türkiye are divided into few different groups based on their attitude about their origins. The first group claims that they are a mix of Romani and Armenian people. The second group clings to their Posha identity and does not associate themselves with any other ethnic group. The third group sees themselves as a part of the Meskhetian Turks and considers themselves Turkish. When it comes to the Lomavran language, unfortunately we don't have reliable data about the number of its speakers. Sources estimate the number of Lomavran speakers to be around a few hundred to a few thousand in Türkiye. At this point, it is important to mention that some Posha groups who do not speak Lomavran on a daily basis use many Romani and Armenian words from this language in their daily Turkish speech. Today, the Lomavran language is categorized as endangered. This is the last stage before a language goes extinct. Yes, I'm aware that much about the Poshas is vague and ambiguous. But regardless of everything we mentioned, they are another beautiful color in Türkiye's diverse population. Unfortunately, there are not many extensive studies on the Poshas and therefore the information we can access is quite limited. Thousands of Germans live in Türkiye, mostly residing in the Turkish Riviera and other major cities. This German community consists of Germans who have moved to Türkiye in recent years to live out their retirement, work, study and such. However, if you go all the way here to the edge of Türkiye, we also encounter another German community. However, they have been inhabiting these lands since the late 1800s. Germans of Eastern Türkiye, also known as Kars Germans, are a historic German community that inhabits the Kars province. The story starts in 1721 when the Tsardom of Russia defeated Sweden in the Great Northern War and conquered much of the Baltic region. Back then, the Baltic Germans were quite influential in the region's politics, economy and culture. However, following the Russian rule in the area, the Russians aimed to weaken the German presence in the Baltics by enforcing the Germans to immigrate to different parts of the continent. This immigration policy lasted well into the 1800s. A group of Germans from Estonia was sent to the Caucasus region in 1829 following the Russo-Turkish War. 5 decades later, there would be another Russo-Turkish War between 1877 and 1878. This war resulted in a Russian victory, and the Russian Empire gained significant portions of lands in what is now eastern Türkiye. Following the Russian presence in this area, the Russian Empire moved some of the Estonian Germans from the Caucasus to these lands. The German settlers built several villages and started new lives for themselves. They followed the common lifestyle in the region, which was mainly animal husbandry and farming. For years, they preserved their heritage, practiced Christianity, and spoke German. According to the 1897 population census of the Kars region, there were 429 Germans in this area. The Kars Germans went through a lot of hardships. They survived World War I, numerous regional conflicts and economic hardships. With the foundation of Türkiye, they all became Turkish citizens. Particularly in the dairy farming industry in the region, they played a pivotal role. Kars Germans had close relations with many other ethnic groups in the region, primarily with the Terekemes, who are a branch of the Azerbaijani people. During the 1960s, the Kars German community saw a severe decline in population. The mass immigration of Turkish workers to Germany also affected the Kars Germans. A huge part of them left for Germany. Although it is hard to pinpoint an exact number, it is estimated that the number of Kars Germans today is less than 10 in the region. Despite conducting extensive research, I managed to find only 2 Kars Germans living in the city of Kars today, August Albuk and his sister Kanida Turhal. One thing that surprised me in a positive way is that both August and Kanida are Christians, but their partners are Muslims. Both of them mention in their interviews that they live with their Muslim partners in peace and celebrate each other's religious holidays together. Seeing August and Kanida, who look ethnically German but speak native Turkish with a regional accent, is quite interesting. It warms my heart to see such cool diversity. Perhaps there are a few more Germans in the surrounding settlements in Kars. However, it seems that the German heritage here is dying. In addition to August and Kanida, another remnant of the German heritage in Kars is an old German house on the outskirts of the city. This house, inhabited by a local Turkish man today, has amazingly well-preserved interior with paintings on the walls and writings in the German language. Kars Germans, alongside other groups we mentioned in this video, are vibrant colors in Turkish society. Whenever I research these topics and delve deeper, I always end up discovering fascinating material like what we learned in this video. Stay tuned for upcoming videos. Thanks for watching.